Welcome to Stock Car Media's Inside the Garage with Liam and Ryan. It seems like I've lost Liam here, but in all seriousness, Liam's not able to be with us today for episode 16 of the podcast. But there's no shortage of news to talk about following the Kansas playoff race for the NASCAR Cup Series. So I have plenty to talk about, and I'm ready to get that over to you guys. Unfortunately without Liam, but man, there's some stuff I can say for him that I know he'd say, and there's some stuff I can say for myself. Kansas, Kyle Larson wins it again. 3 weeks in a row, 3 wins in a row, and he is further proving Hendrick Motorsports 1.5 mile dominance. They have been really, really good this past year at 1.5 mile tracks, a lot like Kansas. The ones where the aerodynamics matter, Hendrick Motorsports have been there, and they've been in contention. This race was really important, because it came 17 years after the tragic death of Rick Hendrick's son, Ricky Hendrick, and a bunch of other Hendrick Motorsports individuals, employees. They died in a plane crash 17 years ago today, or yesterday it was. But Ricky Hendrick, his son, was a race car driver. He won at Kansas in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series back in the day, and it looks like I got a comment here, but sorry, he won in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series way back in the day with the same paint scheme that Kyle Larson runs today. So it was just a very timely win for Hendrick Motorsports' number 5 team. His only win came in 2001, but he did pass away in 2004. So it was just perfect timing. But that is something to pay attention to when you look at Kyle Larson's win here. His teammate Chase Elliott, he finished right behind him. In fact, almost caught up with Kyle Larson before tagging the wall a few times there in the end. But he was pretty close all day long. This is the closest he's been in a few weeks. He had a really good points day. He started below the cutoff line, and now he's second in the championship standings. Of course, Kyle Larson's win has allowed him to allowed the championship 4 to have 2 points entries. So 2 guys will get in on points and not wins because Kyle Larson has won 2 of the past races. But yeah, Chase Elliott's 34 points above the cut line now after that really good points day. He has had a pretty difficult past few weeks, and this was a really good day that he needed. Obviously, he's had some interesting battles with Kevin Harvick the past few weeks that didn't help his point situation, but he really tried today. Like I said, he ran down Larson, and he was pretty close, but there just wasn't enough time left in the race, and he was pushing it too hard, ran into the wall. He put damage on the car, and he just couldn't do it anymore. Second place finish, though, another 1-2 for Hendrick. Definitely what they needed 17 years after the tragic day where the Hendrick Motorsports gang passed away. We were just talking about Harvick here. Want to say hello from Liam. Liam, who's usually here, probably about like over here. He usually sits. He can't be with us today, but he is in the comments if you're interested. Says he misses being on set today, but hello from home, sitting on his rear. Those are his words, not mine. But good hello to Liam. But like I was saying, it was a very good day for Harvick. One of his best days, maybe all season, to be honest with you. Aside from Bristol, they're really getting some speed back in that number 4 crew. They have had a very hard drop off this season. Last year, 9 wins for Kevin Harvick, and this year 0. He came close to 1, but just didn't grab it, and he had a really good day, a contending day today. He had the fastest lap yesterday on track at Kansas, and he was faster than most of the JGR cars. He was tangled up with Denny Hamlin for most of the day, running top 5 really, and he finished third. So that was really, really good for him. Thinking about his 9 wins that he had last year makes me think even more about Kyle Larson's now 10 wins, if you're going to count the All-Star race. That is crazy. These are some big numbers we've had these past few years. I can't really believe that. That is crazy. I understand, like Jimmy Johnson's era, you'd have a similar situation, but going years back into traditional stock car racing, you wouldn't wind up with that. That's just crazy stuff. Although you would get folks like David Pearson or Richard Petty who would do similar things, depending what era you're talking about. We obviously know that Kevin Harvick has had some trouble with Elliott the past few weeks, Chase Elliott, and he didn't give up this week. He didn't he didn't give up on his anger towards Chase Elliott today or yesterday, but he definitely didn't do anything to get himself in trouble on the restart where Elliott had been leading before a incident on track that caused the yellow flag to come out. Kevin Harvick was right behind Chase Elliott and needed to give Elliott a push out in front of Larson, and we could have guessed it, and he was not going to do that. He went 3 wide, took Elliott 3 wide. Elliott got sucked back in the pack, and Kevin Harvick kind of had the same result too. Kevin Harvick didn't do very well because of his move, but you could see he is still angry at Chase Elliott. I think Chase Elliott moved on, honestly. There was heated there for a little bit, but I think for the past few weeks, Chase Elliott has been very, very over this incident. And Kevin Harvick, who has had a quite lackluster year, maybe he's trying to get the only attention he'll have the whole year, but he's definitely pursuing this argument with Chase Elliott. Every week he's got something new to say or do about it. And that was interesting to watch on that final restart there. But they had bad blood at Bristol. Obviously, you remember that, where Kevin Harvick cut Chase Elliott's tires, so Chase Elliott slowed up in front of him to help Kyle Larson win the race. Didn't make Kevin Harvick happy. Kevin Harvick wrecked him at the Roval, and then Kevin Harvick proceeded to wreck himself. So obviously, it's an ongoing battle, one where I guess neither one of them are innocent, but. Have a merry off-season and a happy Christmas. Those were Chase Elliott's words following the Roval. But yeah, it was just a weird incident to see. Kyle Busch, he had a very incident-filled day yesterday. He fell victim to some intense wind at the track. So I'll give you an idea. Temperature dropped 12 degrees from the beginning of the race to lap 97 of the race, which was just before the end of stage 1, I believe. And there was I think it was a cold front coming through because it rained for about a second, which caused the red flag. But there was some heavy wind. It was blowing cars into the wall. We had guys like Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., all getting into the wall because the wind was picking up the cars. I believe Tyler Reddick was talking online with Parker Kligerman about how the wind, you'd get off of turn 2, I believe, and just pick up the rear end of the car and try and throw it in the wall. So they had to be very, very careful about that. And obviously some of these guys weren't, like Kyle Busch. He was one of the first guys to slam into the wall early in the race, following that short red flag. And then later, he had the same thing happen to him, but he cut a tire, further slamming into the wall, and a seam where I believe the car should be welded or riveted together, came apart, and he had a very unfortunate day after that. Somehow came back to finish 4th. I'm not really sure how. But like I said, he's not alone. But he's now sits, I believe, 1 point to the good, above the cut line. Meaning, if he has a good race at Martinsville, he goes to the championship 4 after all that. But 1 point to the good, so this is going to be very tight, very close to watch. The wind was insane. The wind made the race entertaining for sure. I agree with that statement. That was something that I kept on seeing, and I was really interested in just watching what was going to happen next. Obviously, Kyle Busch had the same thing happen again and again and again. And, Well, not that many times. I said again quite a few times. I might be wrong to do that, but he's in a interesting situation. His points cushion is gone, but obviously he's been helped out by the fact that other guys in the playoffs had the same issues as him getting knocked into the wall. Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., all into the wall for one reason or the other, and it's gotten really, really close in the points there. Kyle Busch also wasn't happy at Bubba Wallace during the race. And he used a few choice words there. Some swearing inside the car after Bubba Wallace was actually having a pretty good day. I believe he finished 14th. That's correct. But like I said, Kyle Busch was not having the day he needed. Obviously, he won here earlier this spring at Kansas. I believe that's the race where his transmission kind of got stuck in gear. And then he won on fuel mileage. But not the day that Kyle Busch needed, obviously, seeing that Bubba Wallace was doing better than him. Although I can't really rule Bubba Wallace out. That was a good day for him. Not necessarily Kyle Busch's fault that Bubba Wallace was doing well. Denny Hamlin, another one of those Toyotas, he finished 5th. But he wasn't quite so happy about that finish. They interviewed him after the race, and he was not very happy about the fact that he finished 5th. It doesn't really hurt him in terms of the playoffs and the championship 4 too much. In fact, it may have moved him up, but he does sit 32 points to the good, 3rd in the championship standings. So he could have had a better day, but I really don't think he had a bad day. Too much complaining over not enough bad luck, I guess. William Byron had a very good day as well, though. He was I believe he led. Okay, there goes my grammar, but I believe he led for a little bit. But he was doing well. He was up there in like the top 5, top 10 most of the day until he got a pit penalty at the end there. So he had to go back to the rear of the lead lap, which I believe was like 14th or 15th on the final restart there. And he managed to finish 6th, which isn't bad, but not really, doesn't really show the great day that he had. Kyle Busch swears at everybody. He's always complaining about his car. Yeah, it's his favorite term is "I killed it." He said that yesterday. Liam wants to mention that Denny Hamlin was 2nd in points. That is true. So it is a little bit of a drop, but I really wouldn't be as disappointed as he sounded. Martin Truex Jr., we remember he wrecked hard last race. He got a good break because, like I was talking about earlier, everybody was having an issue. So he really was in a must-win scenario, or so we thought. But that wasn't the case. Other guys wrecked, other guys had problems, and now he's only 3 points below the cut line. Coming to Martinsville, track he's won at several times, he has a really good chance of making his way into the playoffs now. People are actually bailing on him at this point in the playoffs, but I wouldn't quite yet. I think Liam's joke last week was it's called Martinsville after Martin Truex Jr. That's not the case, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it was. He's really good there. He's a winner, at least, there quite a few times. And even if he doesn't win, I think he might be able to gain enough points if he just has a good points day. Decent run. He could make it to the championship 4 based on where he's sitting right now. Everybody else was having some issues, so I really wouldn't be surprised if he made it in. Let's see, what else did I have written down here? He finished 7th. He was a lap down for most of the day, so that team really has some resilience the past couple weeks here. Obviously, he wrecked last week. There's nothing you could do about that because it was straight to the garage. But he battled his way back from a lap down to finish 7th, and he was up there in contention at the end of the race. So we'll have to keep a good eye on him. We will, to see what happens with this championship here. Who knows? That would be wild if he squeezed his way into the championship 4 and stole the championship. That would be crazy. Keselowski, we talked about guys who had a bad day. He finished way back in 17th. he had some early contact with the wall because of that wind we were talking about, and that caused some major damage on his car. Lots of nose damage on the right side, and really, I don't think he ever came back from that. Uh, he was actually in position, though, to get the free pass, get right back on the lead lap, assuming a caution came out. And but then his car started overheating, and he was probably thinking, man, I got to pit. And as soon as he did pit, Ryan Newman spun, trapped Keselowski 2 laps down. And nothing ever got better for Brad Keselowski. Puts him in a very precarious situation now because he really needs to win at this point. Can do it at Martinsville, but I'm not certain of it. Not certain that he will. We're going to stay on the trend of Penske teammates, though. Ryan Blaney in trouble. I know that Liam over here, he's leaving some comments. Liam is an Austin Dillon fan, but I agree with him. You can't really blame Austin Dillon for what happened to Ryan Blaney in this race. Ryan Blaney's been having a really great playoff run, and he was having a decent top 10 day as well. Obviously, he's probably hoping to be leading and stuff, and he didn't really have much of that yesterday. But towards the end of the race, one of the final restarts, Austin Dillon, he got loose in traffic, and he clipped the rear end of the number 12 machine, and Blaney drove it into the wall, and he destroyed the car. I don't think it's Dillon's fault. It's a very aerodynamic track. You get air in a weird spot, you're going to get loose, and it was just tight racing there. And I don't think Blaney wants to blame Austin Dillon, but I don't think fans should be blaming Dillon either, although I have seen a lot of it online following that wreck. But Blaney straight to the garage. He lost an entire points cushion. I believe he was very high in the points coming into Kansas, and he lost most of it because he's now below the cutoff line. I believe he's 1 point below the cutoff line, which really isn't bad. If he has a good day at Martinsville, he'll be fine. But definitely, he broke the front steering, the only steering. He broke the steering on the car, and straight to the garage for him. Liam is saying it. Team Penske has some work to do at Martinsville. They do, because Logano did not get the day he needed either. He's pretty good at Kansas. Won here last year, if you remember. Lots of aerodynamic complaints, but he did win last year at Kansas. Not this year. He was not good enough. He didn't have the speed he needed. He finished 9th, which really was pretty good considering the speed that his car had. Not what Logano was needing after the blown engine at Texas. That was out of his hands. I would say today was out of his hands because it really wasn't or yesterday, I mean to say. He wasn't doing anything quite wrong, hitting the wall, wrecking. I really think that it's just been out of his control. What's next, though? I think Logano can win at Martinsville. He's done it before. He did it in 2018. The fall, and he's had lots of top 10s there. Obviously, Team Penske's not quite on the same roll they have been some other years. Yes, Joey Logano is 26 points below the cut line, so I agree very solidly with Liam that, yes, it's a must-win situation for Logano. He is in a must-win scenario, but he has plenty of top 10s here. He has a win. He has a runner-up finish. A lot of these were years ago, but he hasn't really been too bad at Martinsville, so I wouldn't count him out. He still has a chance to make the championship 4, and boy, wouldn't that be interesting. Blaney, probably just as good at Martinsville, or maybe even better. I remember him describing how he runs that line for the curb around the turns there, and he's had some really good results there. He doesn't need to win, but if he just has a really, really good points day, he can do exactly what Chase Elliott did coming into Kansas. Chase Elliott was 1 point below the cutoff line, or maybe not 1 point, but 1 position below the cutoff line, and he moved his way all the way up to second. So in the standings there for the playoffs, I think Blaney can do the same thing. He's going to need a good day, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Brad Keselowski could win too. He did so in the spring of 2019. But right, I don't. Liam's saying it here too. I don't want to rely on Martinsville to make up points. If I were a driver, no, that's not where I would go and say I need to get points here. It is really close racing, and what else? They're all trying to get the points are so close right now that they're all trying to get into the championship four. They're all going to be racing very hard. We've seen it here years before, where no compassion for each other. And I wouldn't be relying on it like Team Penske needs to. Only one of them, well, that's not true. Two of them can get in. The realisticness of more than one of them getting in, though, to the championship four is probably not likely. But like I said, Brad Keselowski could do it again. He did it in 2019, spring. But the lackluster season he's had this year, and it's been a little worse than everybody else at Penske, but he's not had a great season. Neither has Logano. Not a bad season outright, but they need to do very well here in this one last race before the championship race. And the cut line's very close. So he is very far. It's on the other side of this. He is very far below the cut line as well, though. Not in points necessarily, because Joey Logano is a whole whopping 20 points below him. But he's in 7th, when 8th is the lowest place you could be. It's too close for comfort. That is a quote I will take from Liam on here. Agreed. But Kansas, pretty good race. One more name I don't want to have it written down, but I do want to talk about is Tyler Reddick. He was having a pretty good day there. He was running top 10, and he made his way up to I think it was like 3rd or 4th on one of the restarts, and he took them 3 wide, and he took the lead from Larson before a caution came out, and he would restart. He would restart in the front row with the control, and the only issue was Kurt Busch bailed on him, pulled out, did the same thing Harvick did to chase Elliott, which sucked. Tyler Reddick right back through the field, which was not cool, but he did have a very fast car. I haven't seen that cat paint scheme on track in a little bit, and I really like that one, so it was really cool to see him up there doing pretty well. Obviously, he's good at these tracks where you can run the top, and he's starting to mature. You're starting to see that his talent's shining through. I'd like to see what he can do in the next season or two. Kansas, though, was a pretty good race, especially compared to last year's fall race. Liam's making the assumption that Logano and Keselowski are going to get eliminated. I'd say probably true. It's probably true. I can't count it out, but I'd agree it's pretty likely. But Kansas was pretty good compared to 2020 fall, where we had all those aerodynamic issues between Logano and Harvick. Both those guys not really contending for the championship this year. Well, obviously Harvick, but something to point out is that was the final intermediate track race of the Gen 6 era. It's the last time we're going to see the 550 horsepower package, which I know it gets its complaints with all the aerodynamic issues and the anemic engines, but, you know, I think it's something that's going to be missed, because as much as Kyle Larson's had the dominance, we've seen some non-preferable racing. Who knows what the next gen's going to hold? It's going to be a lot like sports car racing, and we already know that they're having some trouble on ovals. So I think we're going to miss the good parts of the intermediate tracks in the Gen 6 era, and with that 550 horsepower package. People are complaining now, but they're going to be complaining that we don't have it soon. So, yes, I'm going to miss it too. I'm interested to see what the next generation holds. It'd be really good on road courses. I already know that. It's going to bring different factors, but I don't know which one of those factors are going to be necessarily, bad or good. I know there'll be good ones, but I know there'll be new bad ones too. And I think this car is pretty solid. The Gen 6 car is pretty solid. And it's going to take some working to get the Gen 7 next gen car up to par. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that the Gen 6 motors were going to be used in the next uh, few years here, but in the same sense, though, it's not really the motors that are going to make all the changes. It's still going to change like aerodynamics and all the other stuff because those cars are going to be very, very sensitive. I don't think that the engines being the same is really going to keep the cars uh, similar in any means. Some stats here we have. Some cool stuff that happened because Larson won 3 in a row is that Larson, he became the first driver since Dale Earnhardt to have 2 3-race streaks in a race season. Let me repeat that. He's the first driver since Dale Earnhardt to have 3-race win streaks twice in a single season. That's a pretty cool stat. I thought that was just pretty cool. Showing his dominance. If you can compare him to the Intimidator, and especially in like today's age where they try to even the field a lot more. Sometimes I try and think, how dominant would Kyle Larson be in an older era where, you know, some of the cars were horribly slow and some of them were wicked fast. Probably a lot more than he is. Another record that Kyle Larson broke was Jeff Gordon's laps led record for a 36 race season, which was 2,320 laps. That was back in 2001. He broke the record and put that in the record book. Kyle Larson came into this race with 2,267 laps. So yesterday he gained 130 laps led, and that pushed him over Jeff Gordon's record. So now he's the record holder for the most laps led in a 36 race season. It's also notable to mention that he surpassed Kevin Harvick's 2015 record. Well, not record, but his highest, Harvick's, which was 2,294 laps. He did that in one race. He surpassed 2 records there. So really showing his dominance. Young Money, that's what they call him. That's what Liam's calling him in the chat. Let's see here. Some news that broke today, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that Dale Earnhardt Jr., Clint Bowyer, Tony Stewart, they're all going to drive at Bowman Gray Stadium, I believe, tomorrow in a next-gen test for Goodyear tires, which, so this is going to be I remember, I can't say that everybody else would have heard this, so that's why I'm going to explain it, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. was explaining on his Dale Jr. download that he asked Hendrick Motorsports, could he have an opportunity behind the car? Could he drive the car to get a feel for it so he could do better broadcasting? And I think this is the opportunity he was talking about because he's going to get behind that the wheel of that car. Tony Stewart, too. That's going to be cool. Haven't seen him behind the wheel of a car in a little bit. Well, a NASCAR Cup car. But Clint Bowyer, he's only a year out. Last year he retired, so it's not as exciting, but it's definitely interesting to see Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart getting back behind the wheel. Unfortunately, don't let Tony break anything. Yeah, I mean, it is a short track. Let's be honest. It's close racing, although it should be only 3 cars on track at most. I don't know all the details, and that's what I'm about to explain, that we don't know all the details. When we're not going to, because it's going to be a closed tire test. Usually Goodyear, they're not very open about letting people in for those tire tests. So I kind of expected it when I heard the rumors, but there might be some media for when Tony Stewart gets in the car later in the evening. They said that they might allow some media to come in and capture the tire test. Well, that's just plain, that's not very nice. Is Tony Stewart going to fit through the window of the car? I don't have an answer for you though. I don't know. um, as much as it's not very nice, it's realistic. he's been out of stock car racing for quite a bit now. Let's see if he remembers how to get behind the wheel of that car, and to your point, if he fits through the window net opening. That'll be something to keep an eye on, I suppose, but it's not horribly important. Something unfortunate that happened this week was that Carson Ware was arrested for assault upon a female and property damage. Carson Ware, you may know him for his time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and a couple races for Ream Brothers in the Truck Series, but he currently drives for SS Greenlight Racing with a partnership with his father's team, Rick Ware Racing. He drives multiple numbers, I believe the 47, the 17, the 07. I'm not certain all the. He drives on a part-time basis all over the place, but he did get arrested, and it was a very unfortunate case. What I heard of it, reports from the police, was that he had a alcohol-fueled rampage on one of his team members' homes. He was staying with them, and he came home drunk. He broke in and he attacked his team member's wife, busted picture frames off the wall, doors down. The police had to come and arrest him. It sounds like a bad place for Carson Ware to be. A lot of people are joking, hey, Rick Ware Racing, they hit the wall in NASCAR, and now they hit women too. But I think that is beyond the point. I don't think people should be making those kind of jokes over a serious matter. It sounds like Carson Ware is in crisis. Obviously, many young people these days have substance abuse issues, and it sounds like he's suffering from that, and it's not being very good for him. I think it's rude and not very compassionate of someone to say those things. And I wanted to express that because I'm just a little disappointed by the everything I've heard from the NASCAR community in response to this. But Garrett Smithley, he drove the number 17 car this past weekend at Kansas. And we don't know what's going to happen to the number 17 car as for who's getting behind the wheel now. Obviously, I didn't mention it, but Carson Ware suspended from NASCAR indefinitely and SS Greenlight Racing. So he will not be returning anytime soon. But we don't know who's getting behind the wheel. Obviously, Garrett Smithley, Rick Ware Racing driver, who is Carson Ware's father, team owner. That was a jumble of words, but they're related through Rick Ware himself. He drove the car. So we'll have to see who else gets behind the wheel. We may see Cody Ware, Carson Ware's older brother, get behind the wheel. We'll have to see what happens with that, but it is definitely unknown and up in the air at the moment. Suspended he is, unfortunately. Young name coming into the sport is Nick Sanchez. He's going to drive for BJ McLeod Motorsports in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for several races next season. Car number unknown, sponsorship unknown, but we know he's coming into the series. Nick Sanchez, he's known for his time in the ARCA Menard Series East, and he drives for Rev Racing, which is short for Revolution Racing. He began in 2020 racing for the team, but he obviously got his start driving late models. He didn't make his start in ARCA for all of his racing career, but he finished third in the season standings of the ARCA Menards East Series last season. And just a couple nights ago, Saturday, he won the final ARCA race of the 2021 season. He stole it from Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs, who's been winning all season long. He's had a very, very dominant season. In fact, all he had to do was start the race this Saturday, and he was crowned the champion. But Nick Sanchez came in with some defiance. He knew Ty Gibbs was going to win, but he took the race win away from him, and he's putting his name down in the books. Yes, he won the ARCA Menard Series race this weekend. But he does race in the East Series on a regular basis. Yes, but Ty Gibbs, he won the ARCA race, or the ARCA championship, pardon me, and he won the Xfinity Series race earlier in the day. And I'm going to speak my own opinions, but I have to do this on behalf of Liam, who is probably looks like he's talking up a storm in the comments. But Ty Gibbs, that 54 car, very, very fast. He drove through the field again, just like John Hunter Nemechek last week. We talked about this. 54 car has been very, very fast this season. I believe 11 wins. The post race interview, they had to say, I think they're running out of room on the car for race win stickers, and I think they're truly being honest. But what stands out apart from everything else is the fact that none of the other Joe Gibbs Racing cars in the Xfinity Series have won anything this year. Nothing. And the part-time car with multiple different drivers has somehow won very, very often. It's way too fast. That's what Liam's saying, but it's honest. You think by now, and in my mind, I think it would be that way, that they'd be focusing their efforts on their championship contending race car drivers. So, Harrison Burton, Brandon Jones, Daniel Hemrick. We know Harrison Burton and Daniel Hemrick are not coming back next year. They're going elsewhere. But wouldn't you? I mean, we just got the news that Brandon Jones is going to renew his contract with Joe Gibbs Racing, so he's going to stick around. Wouldn't you want them to win the championship? This 54 car has been fast every time it hit the track, and those cars have been, interestingly enough, slow. And it's been consistent with them. And it's been consistent with the 54 car that it's fast. And I'm not going to argue that the talent is not there. Ty Gibbs, probably pretty talented. He obviously has his grandfather's support because this is his grandfather's team, and his grandfather has a lot of money, but he's probably a pretty talented driver. I honestly have no good perception of it because I don't know. I haven't seen him race anything that his grandfather didn't sponsor or put money into. I'm sure there's footage somewhere maybe, but I don't know. But Kyle Busch, we know he's talented, but we know he has way more success when he gets behind the wheel of the 54 car. John Hunter Nemechek, we know he's talented, but when he gets behind the number 4 truck in the Xfinity Series or this number 54 car, he's wicked fast. I just got to say, there's something fishy about that. I get that Joe Gibbs wants to help out these guys. Kyle Busch needed to revitalize his career after a horrible 2020 season. He got behind the car, and he did it this year. He revitalized his whole career pretty much. I mean, he's had a much better year. Ty Gibbs needs to make a name for himself, so his grandfather's putting money into that. But why not put money into Brandon Jones? Why not put money into Harrison Burton or Daniel Hemrick? I can almost guarantee that's half the reason that Daniel Hemrick and Harrison Burton probably aren't coming back. They haven't been offered opportunities to be successful where they are. They have moved elsewhere on their own. Liam's phone is about to blow up. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'd like to see them focus more on their championship contending cars rather than the 54. Now that leaves more room for points in the championship for Xfinity Series. Not like what Larson's been doing, but I mean at least Larson is a playoff driver. He is a full-time driver. Ty Gibbs, John Hunter Nemechek, Kyle Busch. Who else got behind the wheel of that car? We had Ty Dillon. They've not been full-time drivers. They've not been. It's a part-time car. It runs on a full-time basis with part-time drivers. So it blows my mind that they're focusing on that and not the guys who will make them a lot of money if they win a championship. Jeffrey Earnhardt left JGR. Lots of guys did. It's about all I have, though. I think this is enough ranting for 1 week. Enough, talking for one week. I wrote a lot because I was very passionate about that Kansas race. Lots of stuff to happen. I hope I got Liam's point across very well. I mean, I'm not trying to speak for Liam, but I understand Liam, and I feel similarly, so I'm trying to make a point for him as he cannot be here, like I mentioned earlier in the episode. But obviously, it was fun talking and reading some comments and talking about the news, even with just myself and you. But definitely a very interesting race, and I cannot wait to see where the championship standings go in this next week. I'll be back next week to talk about it. If you want any of the NASCAR news as it gets released, you can always head over to our website, stockcarmedia.blogspot.com. It's all there, updated pretty frequently. If you want updates on that, though, you can head over to our social media at stockcarmedia on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's all there. Be down in the description alongside our Redbubble link, where if you're interested in any merchandise, you could take a look at it. No need to buy, but if you like this episode, though, please consider supporting us. Please consider sticking around, coming back next week this time, subscribing, liking. We like that a lot, and we appreciate it. But thanks for hanging around. I'll have plenty to talk about next week. Have a good one.